In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Podcast. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners for tuning in. Before we jump into tonight's film review, I just want to shout out our website. Brian's done a fantastic job with it. We've got all of our episodes and interviews if you don't want to scroll through 300 plus episodes on Apple or Spotify. We've done some incredible interviews with horror legends. Go check those out. We've got our store if you want to buy some merch. We've got t-shirts, mouse pads, hats. We also have Shan's Etsy page if you want to get a tumbler. We also have all of our social medias there: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Like us, follow us, subscribe, all that good stuff. We love meeting new people, interacting with you, and reading your comments and questions on the air. Last thing I'm going to shout out is our blood donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. If you're a big fan of our podcast and our show and you want to help, all that money goes directly back into the podcast, not into any of our pockets. We also have one-time donations. You're a big fan of a movie and want us to review it? That option is available as well. Check out our website if you're interested. All right, guys, let's jump into the film review. This week is my choice for Dustin's Feel My Pain. I had to see it, so you had to see it month, whatever you want to call it. It's been brutal. Not for me, but for Dustin anyways. You're welcome. But my choice is 2009's The Human Centipede, a movie that has one of the worst, if not the worst, concept in horror history. I may throw that out there. This might be the worst thing I could ever imagine happening to myself, besides being killed, perhaps. I mean, this might be worse than being killed, honestly.
I'd rather die.
Yeah, I think I would rather die too than being sewn to someone's asshole. This
just kill me.
I mean, this is just a horrible concept, but I don't think the movie is as bad as advertised. Me and Mike have seen The Human Centipede 2. That movie is way more disgusting, hardcore, grotesque. That's what people think of, I would think, when they think of The Human Centipede. I think this movie is better than advertised. I think it's okay. Dieter Laser does a fine job, I think, acting. The other actors and actresses aren't that great, but the lead guy is good. And this movie, like the several others we've done in the past, even though I had seen it before, at the end, it just left me feeling like really unsettled. You know what I'm saying? Like that weird pit in my stomach, just because it's got a really dark, gloomy ending. It doesn't end on a happy note, and it's heavy. And I do like that about a lot of horror movies. Like, it doesn't have to end on a happy note, and horror movies should make you feel something. Like, it should make you feel scared and sick. I do like that. Mike, you want to go next with your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. You touched on something I wanted to start with. This movie suffers from what I've called for a long time Saw syndrome, which is where there's an idea of what this movie is and then what the movie actually is. Because of Human Centipede 2 and just the idea of Human Centipede in your mind goes to the absolute worst place. And I know Dustin, he's going to share his thoughts, but he hasn't seen Human Centipede 2. So,
Nor will I.
And that's fine, because I'm never going to pick that piece of shit. But I view this movie way differently. I'm more on the side of you, Nico, where I won't say I like the movie, because that would be speaking out of term. I think that's a little bit hyperbole. But I actually think it's a fine horror movie. Like, I think and you mentioned our main villain here, I actually think a lot of the other acting is good too in certain spots. I think the way the movie is shot is good. I love the music. And I think this movie's full of tension and suspense, because there's really not a whole lot worse of a situation you could find yourself in than having your fucking mouth sewn to another person's ass. Like, that is not something that sounds pleasant in any way. And so that the fear of dangling that carrot until it finally happens makes for, to me, something that's full of fear, full of suspense. And I think we have an evil-ass antagonist. And I think they do a good job portraying that. Now, I don't think, like I said, Saw syndrome, where that got the rep of being gore porn. I don't think this movie's all that graphic. There's a couple scenes that make you, make your skin crawl, especially towards the end. But I don't think this movie's that graphic, especially when you compare it to what comes after it and other movies. I mean, this movie's way less graphic than the movie we did last week, Terrifier 2, I think, significantly even. So to
It,
me,
it depends on what you define as graphic. It's less gory.
yeah, that's fair. And I do think there's a couple, and like I said, not to spoil anything, because you're not going to watch it, so I'm not really spoiling. But Human Centipede 2 shows a lot of the stuff that they leave to your imagination in this first one. And I actually think, as far as having a plot that makes sense, that's evil, that gets you to feel something, like Nico said, this movie accomplishes that. It makes me feel unsettled the whole time. To say I enjoy the movie would be wrong, but I would still say it's a good film from the standpoint of that it accomplishes what a horror movie is supposed to accomplish, which is weird coming from the guy that gave Winnie the Pooh 7.5, but still, like, there's levels to this shit, and I don't know, like, this movie doesn't bother me in that way.
You said levels to this shit. It's kind of funny because there is levels to this shit. Like the shit starts with one guy, goes to the
Heyo.
next, goes to the next.
Hey, Dustin, do you want the chicken or the fish?
Bars. Hey, before you go, Dustin, I'm going to say something blasphemous. I think this movie is not as good. It kind of is. This movie's not as good or iconic or anything like that, but it has that original Texas Chainsaw feel to me. Like,
Yeah,
that it just feels realistic. It feels sick and demented. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, and it has a similar, start. People get lost and find a house,
look,
but there's sickos that I could like, if you heard this story on like the news or read it on like an article,
Yeah.
like you're like,
Right.
holy shit, like this sounds real and it's horrifying.
Before you go, Dustin, because I know you're going to obliterate it, and I can't wait. But I just want to say, I do want to piggyback off you there, Nico, because I think the reason I would qualify this as a good movie is because it feels like something you would, if you're a true crime fan, I think this would be a good leap into horror movie for you, because this is stuff that you hear about, stuff that you read about. And this is just kind of taking it to the next level. I don't think anyone's tried this in real life. Someone can fact check me if they'd like, because I don't think it, quite frankly, scientifically, anatomically would work. But hey, anyway, go ahead, Dustin. I know you're waiting. I just wanted to get out in front of it. Now you can obliterate the ball off the tee, bud.
This movie's a fucking disgrace. First of all, everyone involved with it should be ashamed of themselves. Dieter Laser's looking up right now, and he should have some shame as to the legacy he left behind. It's vile. Vile is the only word that I can think of to describe it. South Park season 15, episode 1, did it way better, because at least that was enjoyable. It was funny. That's Human Centipede is that episode. This movie's just, listen, you're right. It's not as graphic, quote unquote, as Terrifier 2. It's not as graphic as the Saw franchise as far as gore goes. This doesn't need the gore. If it had the gore, I don't know that I would have done the episode. I don't know that I would have watched it if it was, over the top gore wise as well. Just the fucking concept is evil and disgusting. And I felt like, okay, there's only been 2 movies in my entire life that I turned it off and felt just nasty about myself. One of them is a good movie, and I will stand by it that it's a good movie to the day I die. And that's Requiem for a Dream. And the other one is this. One is a good movie, one is not. I don't like this movie. I don't think the acting is good. Dieter Laser is creepy as fuck. Absolutely, because first of all, he's batshit crazy looking. Like his head's too big for his body. His eyes are too big. And he just looks like an evil German mastermind. But the rest of the acting was not good. The Japanese guy, he actually might have been a good actor. I don't know, because I don't speak Japanese, so I couldn't tell if he sounded natural reading his lines or not. So sure, he did a fine job, but the rest of the movie is just an abomination. I said that word. I called Terrifier 2 an abortion of a film. I would watch Terrifier 2 back to back for a week straight before I ever click play on this movie again. And I said I would never watch Terrifier 3. I'm sitting that episode out. I am sitting that episode out. But I tell you right now, if y'all ever try to pick one of the sequels for this movie, I'm not sitting that episode out. I'm quitting the fucking show.
First of all, you're not sitting out Terrifier 3, so buckle up, pal.
Oh,
but we're not picking.
No, you're not.
No, you're not. We're not picking Human Centipede 2. Hey, We didn't set out Children of the Corn or any of those piles of dog shit. I don't want to hear it.
Oh man.
Oh man, you're the one that bitched about us if we were gonna sit out Children of the Corn. You will watch Terrifier 3, pal.
No, if you want to set out an episode, you know what? Fine. I'll. This isn't one of those rules that only applies to y'all and not Dustin. You can have that fucking rule. If there's ever a movie that makes you want to, run into oncoming traffic so you don't have to do the episode, just sit it out because I'm not doing Terrifier 2 or any more Human Centipede movies. Now, that being said, if this movie made me feel the way it did, I could not imagine how
Johnny.
a Serbian film would make me feel.
Nah,
So
we'll
that
never
one was
watch
on
it.
that
We'll
was
never
on the
watch it.
ban list before we all collectively agreed we're not going
Yeah.
to review that movie. Now that's stamped in, it's written
Well, I'm
in
gonna tell
fucking
you something.
stone because of this one.
This isn't this, dude. Human Centipede 2 makes this movie look like a PG film. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah. Well, I'm praying for everyone involved in making this movie.
Yeah, for real. Like, how bad do you need a paycheck? Good Lord. All right, guys, let's jump into the scene by scene, and then we'll let Dustin continue to annihilate the movie. The film starts with a view of the highway and opening credits. Dr. Heater is sitting in his parked car, sobbing, looking at a picture of dogs with mouth to anus. A truck pulls up behind him and stops. The trucker walks into the woods to drop a deuce. Dr. Heiter, is it Heiter? Grabs a rifle from his car and shoots him. Title card. Jenny is on the hotel phone asking for directions to a nightclub. Lindsay takes a call from their friend Amy. She tells Amy they're in Germany and headed to Italy next. They're going to a party with a cute German waiter that Jenny met. They're driving at night and very clearly lost. They get a flat tire and Lindsay pulls over. She calls the rent-a-car place, but there's no signal. She begins to panic and the thunder rolls. Shout out to Garth Brooks. They get back in the car and neither know how to change a tire. A car approaches. They tell him about the tire, but he's exponentially horny and creepy, saying all the things he'd do to them sexually. He stays parked beside them creepily and flicks his tongue at them. He cranks his car and drives away. Lindsay says, we need to go walk and find help. Jenny says 10 minutes and we come back. They start the hike through the woods and now they're lost. The two are arguing now and Lindsay sees a light from a house. It's raining now and they run to the house unable to find the front door. They find the door and knock. It's Dr. Heiter's house. He asks if they're alone and lets them inside. He locks the door with a key from the inside. Very creepy. He asks if they're tourists and say they're on a European vacation. He asks if they're relatives. He goes to make the call and asks if they want a drink. He gives them some water and drugs it while faking being on the phone. He says they'll be here in a half hour max. They drink the spiked water as he lies on his couch creepily. They ask if he lives here with his wife. He says no, and he hates human beings. He snaps on Lindsay, who spills her water and leaves to get a towel. All right, Mike, that's the opening scene. What'd you think?
So I will say I found it a little difficult to take notes on this movie because there really a lot happens, but a lot's not said. A lot's not really like moving. It's just like, oh God, the next shock thing. So I will say that. I will say I could have gone my whole life without seeing a dog centipede, even in picture form. Like, I'm good on that. Leave that on the table. That could have been on the cutting room floor. I feel bad for this one guy because I've also had to pull over and take a dump on the side of the road. And that shit's embarrassing. But yeah, I know, right? Shocker. Big time shock there. However, I never had my lips sewn to someone's ass, so I can't relate. Here we go with Jenny and Lindsay, which, by the way, call me sometime. Both of you. Anytime. I will say I hate this flat tire and no signal trope. Like, that is a big negative for the movie. It's like every fucking horror movie ever made. I hate how we got here because that's way too obvious. It happens almost all the time. If I'm going to call it out in one movie, I got to call it out in other movies. I hate that. Ladies, learn how to change a tire. That's something, a little PSA. Learn how to change a tire if you can, okay? It's a very valuable life skill. Everyone should learn how to change one. Here's a compliment, though, and this goes back to our Winnie the Pooh episode. I love the woods as a setting. I almost wish this movie had stayed more in the woods. Just the rain, the woods, the creepiness. Like, I really like that setting. And I think I love the aesthetic. And what I'll say, and I know maybe I'll get some pushback here, I think the movie looks good. Like, I think the movie is a well-made film as far as the budget that it had. I thought they did a pretty good job with the camera. Lindsay and Jenny yelling at each other really got me all upset. If they had just called me, I could have helped them, talk them through it, could have really been there for them and been by their side, but they didn't feel like doing that, I guess. Also, my man here, Doctor, has a nice ass house. Like, to me, he almost has too nice of a house to live by himself. Dead giveaway of creepy vibes, man. That's all I'm saying. Like, that he needed like a middle class house. He didn't need too nice, not too dingy, just right there in the middle, like BTK had, typical American family, blah, 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 blah. That's what he needed. Also, last thing, don't spill shit at a stranger's house, okay? Just shit on their porch. Oh, wait, that's my friend, so it doesn't count.
Jesus. Yeah, that happened. I will say this, because I'm going to get real fucking negative here in a minute, but there's something about the open that just feels so classic and right. Like, it's got a very old school feel. It's probably the score and the font choice for the credits. I actually really like that. All downhill from there. We get terrible audio mixing in the hotel room. Like, it literally sounds like they're talking in a hotel room and not a movie. And I've said it before, audio quality is a huge nitpick of mine for films. And then just some fucking top-notch acting from these ladies, I tell you. And then when the guy pulls up, when they've got the flat tire, what the fuck kind of dialogue was that? Like, that's worse than anything that Rob Zombie has ever written. So I don't want to hear shit about Rob Zombie anymore, Nico. We're off to a blazing start with this one. Then, this bitch throws a temper tantrum in the middle of the woods. I hate them both. I'm not saying they deserve what happened to them, but I hate these two girls. And then, they should have known by the way that creepy old fuck looked at them through the window that they shouldn't have gone inside that house. And they damn sure shouldn't drink any water unless it's in a sealed bottle. Like, that's just, maybe it's just because it's 2023 and we hear it a lot more about how aware women need to be and you just need to be aware of your surroundings. But that's a red flag. He went to the kitchen, was in there for a long time, and comes back with 2 glasses of water. I don't like that. And then one more, I guess, positive for all the shitty things that I'm going to say about this movie. The one thing that was absolutely nailed was the casting for Dr. Hyder. That guy's creepy as fuck. Like I said, he looks like a damn mastermind. But overall, this is probably my favorite set of scenes because there's nothing absolutely disgusting about it. We get to see the 3 dogs with their mouths sewn together, but it's not really, it's implied, and we find out that's definitely what it is, but it doesn't look like their mouths are sewn together. It looks like they're just standing ass to mouth, kind of. So it's not too graphic, not too gross. Best set of scenes. I give this set of scenes a 2 out of 10, though. So what's that tell you?
God damn.
Wow, this is going to be brutal. Yep. All right. Jenny chugs her water and Doctor goes into his basement laboratory. We see another man in a hospital bed and Doctor draws up a syringe. Lindsay asks if he'll call a taxi and he refuses. Jenny is really tired and he admits he gave her the date rape drug. Lindsay begins retching and crawls on the floor. He grabs her by the hair and puts the needle in the back of her neck. Morning time now, and Dr. Hyder is eating his breakfast and ripping up their car rental paperwork. Lindsay wakes up in a hospital bed beside Jenny, and their hands are strapped to the rails. Jenny wakes up and begins to panic. Doctor goes into the basement and hears their screams and cries. Doctor tells the truck driver he doesn't match and he has to kill him. He grabs a syringe and injects drugs into his IV. The truck driver begins to spasm, and he dies. The doctor covers his face as his monitor flatlines. Doctor buries his body. He's back home and carries a new man inside. He turns the light on and smiles, seeing all 3 of them. He smacks the man, waking him up. He wakes the women up now in a less violent manner. At least he was polite. He puts his white coat on and fires up the projector. He was a specialist in separating Siamese twins. He explains the experiment to them, cutting their knee ligaments, removing certain teeth, and attaching their mouths to rectums. He wants to create a Siamese triplet, the human centipede. All right, Mike, that's the next set of scenes. What do you think?
So these 2 are dummies. Like, let's be honest. I'm not drinking anything from a stranger's house in the middle of the night in a foreign place that I'm not used to. Doesn't matter. Like, I don't mean foreign. I mean, if this person was from Germany and they were over in the U.S., I definitely wouldn't drink a stranger's water. Not a chance. So these 2 were dumb off the rip there. Not saying they deserve what happened to them. I'm just saying that was stupid. It's just a giant fear of mine to be drugged anywhere by anything. So like that, like maybe that's why I'm like, oh man, I'm into this story. And the shitty thing is, and Dustin kind of touched on this, women fear this all the time. They live with this overhanging fear anytime they go out, which is a shame. I went to a college football game this past weekend, and they sell Trulies and other big, 16-ounce cans of stuff with little slider lids on them. So that kind of lets you know what the vibe is here in America. It's just fucked up, man. Anyway, so fuck this guy and fuck Bill Cosby. That's all I got to say. The pure, hey, there you go. Look, the pure claustrophobia I would feel if I ever woke up being tied down to a bed. Like, it would drive me absolutely insane. I couldn't do it. It made my skin crawl to watch them do it. Last little thing here, because there really wasn't a ton, but him describing what's about to take place to them, fucking horrifying, man. I actually think the acting here is really good by everyone. And I know that's a hot take, and that's fine, but I think all across the board, the acting here, the fear feels real. He feels like a sick fuck. I think they do a pretty good job in this scene of getting everything across really well. So that's all I had, because, again, it was a lot of talking and not a lot of stuff actually happening.
It's very disturbing seeing the look on his face as he poked her with the needle. This is one sick bastard, and it only gets worse. Nightmare scenario, being drugged in a foreign country and waking up to see that it wasn't just a dream and there's another victim in bed beside you. Like, that's fucking terrifying. Something deeply unsettling, though, was seeing the doctor in jeans with a t-shirt tucked in. I don't know about y'all, but that gave me the heebie-jeebies. Like, I didn't like that. Didn't like that at all. Then imagine how terrifying it would be being strapped to the bed after being kidnapped and seeing the guy that's in the room with you that's also kidnapped being euthanized like that. Like, you got to start making your peace with God at that point. It's not looking good. You're not getting out that room, it doesn't look like. And then when he wakes up, the new victim, he starts yelling in Japanese. He says, "The Japanese possess unbelievable strength when backed into a corner." Okay, buddy, ask J. Robert Oppenheimer how that turned out. I'm just kidding. But what a shitty line of dialogue, man. That was, what the fuck was that about? But yeah, the most unsettling part of this scene, though, was definitely seeing him discuss the procedure and what his plans are, and just the deranged look in his face when he said it. Like this set of scenes less than the first one. Go ahead.
Dustin's theme is coming back to haunt him. Doctor gives Katsuro his breakfast.
You know what? No. This is bullshit. Okay. My theme was, how can I make you guys watch Beau is Afraid, which is not anything that's
not our fault.
It's not, yeah. But you guys took liberties with it.
You could have picked a freestyle month and picked it.
Yep.
No.
What was the name of the theme, Dustin?
Feel My Pain.
Interesting.
I didn't feel y'all's pain in this. I felt my own pain from having to watch it. I felt the pain of the writer and director Tom Six. I felt the pain of him burning in hell for conceiving this fucked up movie.
So next time when I want to do an overdue movie that may not be overdue, maybe you'll let me. Here we go.
Yeah, fucking 3 weeks later. Go ahead. 3 weeks after it released, it's overdue.
All right, Doctor.
That soon. Anyway, let's go.
All right, Doctor gives Katsuro his breakfast. He spasms and he passes out. He gives the ladies their meds now, and Jenny cries out. Lindsay gets free and takes off running upstairs. She runs around the house and locks herself in her room. He bangs on the door and says to open up. He laughs at her, calling him a sick man. He says he will cut her knees and remove her teeth with no anesthesia if she doesn't open the door. Her arm is bleeding badly, and she grabs a lamp as a weapon. She opens the blinds, and he's outside the window. She tries to escape, but the door is locked. She gets out and runs into the pool room, falling into the pool. She's trapped now, essentially. She cries and asks why he's doing this. He takes the rifle and aims, but she goes underwater. She emerges and begs to be killed. He tells her about his dog who tried to run away. He tells her that she'll be the middle piece. He says game over and has his pool topper close. She goes underwater again. The overload shuts off and he exits the room. She climbs out the pool, still bleeding. She walks the halls of the dark house and is back in the room. But she doesn't run through the broken window and goes back into the house. She makes it into the basement and gets Jenny free. She pulls her body out the bed and kicks a metal tray accidentally. She drags Jenny's body and says she's sorry. She drags her up the spiraling stairs, down the hall of the house, and out the broken window. But she's shot in the back with a tranquilizer dart and collapses. Doctor presses his shoe to her mouth as she cries out for help. Doctor is drawing incision lines on their bodies and begins pulling teeth out. He takes a pause and gets a drink. We see the subject's bodies positioned differently on the table. All right, Mike, that's the next set of scenes. What do you think?
All right, so I get it here because I've had drugs for breakfast before as well. So it really is a great way to start the day. What can I say? I've definitely had drugs for breakfast. Look, this, and I said it in my open. The doctor here is a fucking terrifying villain. Like when I really think about the movies we've covered, he's probably the most evil in my opinion. Like given the subject matter, the content, and I think the way it's portrayed, like this is an evil motherfucker, and it makes me invest in the movie. Like, look, I know I'm about to see something I'm super uncomfortable with, super unsettling, but I'm still invested because of this character. He's a sick fuck, and for whatever reason, that's something. I guess I'm a sick fuck. What can I say? Just it, but I like that he's there because in this movie, you're actually pulling for the protagonist. And some of the movies we cover, we end up pulling for the bad guy. Like, hey, cut this motherfucker up. Not in this movie. I want these people to be okay. That's how I feel about them. I will say I kind of like this pool scene because of how I mentioned it earlier, how it's full of tension and suspense, and I just think more good acting here by the doctor. I think they do a great job with the rain in the background. I think it makes it a little creepier, a little more unsettling. And I just love the way the film is shot in these scenes. I will say her dragging her friend feels really unrealistic. Not that she's not capable, but like dragging her a really long way. Like, I don't know, that just didn't really hit for me. I will, and really the last thing here, seeing him finally make the incisions and getting this fucking centipede set up was fucking just skin crawling. Like watching them perform surgery on someone's ass in this context was like, hey, look, a medical surgery show like Dr. Pimple Popper, whatever, I can do that. But in this particular setting, it was fucking just unnerving. That's all I had. I thought it. Look, the movie is building to something that's terrible, but I think they're doing a good job, in my opinion, getting to that point.
So she goes and hides in this room, and there's a phone right by the door, and she doesn't think to make a damn phone call. Now, I know that she doesn't know probably that the German 911 is 110. Like that's not common knowledge. I had to look it up to see if they even had a 911. It's 110 in case you ever find yourself in this situation. But at least try. Make a call to someone. Fuck. And then she runs into the pool. I wrote LMAO, dumbass. I'd probably just drown myself at this point, though. Like, it's better than potentially getting my mouth sewn to Nico's asshole. Side note, that pool water had to burn like a bitch on that wound on her arm. Like, holy shit. And then she goes right back into the room that she was being held in instead of trying to make a run for it. That's an example of being too good of a friend. I'm sorry, but at this point, it's every mouth and anus for themselves. Fuck that. And then dragging her friend bare-assed across the shattered glass. That's less than ideal, because if they do make it, her ass is going to be all cut up from the glass. Seriously, though, for as long as that doctor was gone, she could have made a hell of a run for it and probably have gotten to safety, if we're being honest. But no, she had to be Captain Save-A-Ho and try to save her friend. Logic out the window. Fuck this movie. Go ahead.
Dustin, I love you. The window repairman fixes his bedroom window, and the doctor lies down on the couch until he hears a faint squeaking. He looks at the 3 test subjects, and they're all bandaged up, passed out on the floor, connected to each other. My sweet centipede, he says to them as he looks at their stitches. Katsuro wakes up, and the doctor encourages him to get up. He yells in excitement, seeing his creation come true. He takes pictures of his human centipede. Katsuro begs him to stop as the doctor carries a mirror around, showing them what he's done to them. He kisses his reflection in the mirror, thrilled with his work. That evening, we hear them crying and screaming in their cage. Doctor has him outside on the lawn now, and he sticks a newspaper in Katsuro's mouth, telling him to bring the paper to him. Later that night, he feeds Katsuro from a dog bowl. Katsuro bites the doctor's leg, and he kicks him in the face twice, threatening to remove his teeth one by one. Doctor has him outside again, and he tells them to bite his boots if he wants to bite. He mocks them as they begin to crawl around the lawn. Katsuro apologizes, saying he has to shit. Doctor yells, "Feed her," as he shits into Lindsay's mouth. Good Lord. They're in the cage again, weeping, and the doctor threatens to cut their vocal cords if they don't shut up. He needs his sleep. The doctor is swimming as they crawl alongside the pool. Finally, you want to move your ass. Maybe you can escape. He lets them out the room, and then he begins whipping them. All right, Mike. What are your thoughts on that bizarre set of scenes?
First of all, I never thought I'd hear you say on this show that someone was shitting into someone else's mouth, but here we are. That's what happens. What can I say? Look, I know all of this happening would be terrible, no matter where you are on the Centipede. Whether it doesn't matter where your placement is, it would be terrible. However, imagine being the fucking middle of this thing. That sounds awful. Like, being the very end, at least my ass is kind of open. Like, if I have to shit, it's not going into somebody else. Someone's face isn't pressed up. And if I'm the front, well, that's kind of the lead position. I mean, let's be honest. If you had to be trapped in this thing, I think you'd want to be the front guy. No offense. The middle, though, holy Santa Claus shit. Like, that is, you're getting it from both ends. Pause. And that is a terrible, horrifying thing to put in my head. Holy fuck, that's the worst. Like, it just makes my skin crawl. Okay. The doctor crying, basically because he's proud of his accomplishment, his achievement, I think was a really nice touch, man. Evil, villainous shit, psychopathic stuff, and I think it's portrayed really well. And these three look horrified. Like, and I could understand if you're watching this movie being absolutely disgusted, like I know Dustin was, and that's fair. But I just saw it as like a holy shit moment for an evil villain. To me, it's like a villain origin story to me. Just not as good as some of the, it's not like Joker or anything, but it's still in that same vein. I will say having this light classical music play while they're in the backyard cracked me the fuck up, though. Like, I couldn't help but laugh. I thought it was a funny backdrop to the horror that was going on there. I'm not sure biting this man was very smart. That seems like a really bad idea. Like, I would want to use my brain and think of a better way to maybe get out of this. And then we finally get to the scene that I think most people not were waiting for, but were waiting to see if they would actually do. And by the way, as I've said 4 times already, this is very tame compared to Human Centipede 2 and those feeding scenes. You really only get one in this movie, and you don't see it you don't really see it. But it is horrifying nonetheless. That they kind of leave it to your imagination, and I think that's almost worse because, that's awful. Just fucking gag worthy. Not a fun time at all. But again, I'm still invested into the film because I want to see how it ends.
So, yeah, I agree. Homie kind of lucked up getting to be head of the train. Like, if I had to choose a position, that's ideal. You definitely don't want anyone else's shit sliding down your throat. Then, when the doctor stands them up, that's one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen in a movie. Like, it's worse than anything I've ever sent in the group chat by a country mile. So I don't want to hear any complaints about anything I send ever again. And then Buddy stuck his fingers up the guy's nose and then went right back to the dinner table. He really is a sick fuck. Like, that grossed me out almost as much as anything. I know he didn't eat, but he still cut into his whatever slab of meat that was on the table, and he didn't eat it, but that's just gross. And then when they're out in the yard, what the hell kind of sounds was he trying to make? It's like a chicken sound, but not. He quacked, and then it sounded like he was having a seizure. Do they not have ducks in Germany? I don't know. That was fucking ridiculous. And then, my God, when the guy in the front shit, what the fuck? I didn't enjoy it, but it was kind of so outrageous that it's kind of like, oh my God. Like, I kind of got a chuckle, but I was still not amused. But how did she not vomit? Like, it seems more likely to me that she would throw up and then choke on her own vomit and die than anything else in this movie. Like, she would have thrown up and died right then. I don't know. And then we already have enough gross shit to see in this movie. Do we really need to see his naked ass swimming? No. And side note, Mike, earlier when you said he's got a nice ass house, I thought you were going to stop and say he's got a nice ass because I remember we do see his ass in this movie. And I was like, damn, Mike.
Come on.
But yeah, other than that, fuck this set of scenes and this movie. Go ahead.
Doctor checks Katsuro with the stethoscope and says his breathing is strong. Lindsay is constipated and will give her a laxative. He squeezes ooze out of Jenny's staples. I think you're dying. I'll have to replace you, he says. His phone rings and Katsuro screams as soon as he answers it. It's the police. They need to speak to him, and he hangs up. He goes upstairs and removes his doctor's jacket. He sees the two detectives, and they ask to come inside. Katsuro is desperately crying out for help as the detectives take a seat. They tell him people are missing and their vehicle was found nearby. He says they have the wrong house. He's too busy with his research and asks if they want some water. He drugs their water as the detectives look around the house. Kron says they have reached a dead end in their investigation and asks what's the cage for. He says someone reported an American woman screaming from his property and his Mercedes was spotted at the place where Dutch Lorry was. He tells them to finish their drinks and get out of his house. He keeps shaking the drink in Kron's face and he smacks his wrist. He drops a glass, breaking it. He says he'll see them in court. And then he apologizes, saying he's overworked and he doesn't have enough sleep. He leaves to get a towel. Doctor tells the ladies he's got 2 strong replacements and will mercy kill them and prepare for another operation. Katsuro reaches over to another bed for a scalpel. Kronz asks what's in the cellar. Doc says it's his lab, a torture chamber, and says they can't look around. His research is off limits. He says they can get a search warrant in 15 minutes. He drops a towel, revealing a syringe, but he says it's his insulin. He has diabetes. Kron says they'll be back in 20 minutes with a search warrant. Why he didn't just bring one in the first place, I don't know. See you soon, he says, as they walk out the door. Mike, that's the next set of scenes, and the next set is the ending. Go ahead.
You hit on a big pet peeve of mine. Motherfucker, just show up with a search warrant. Someone has heard screams, and now you've seen a cage. That's all I need to see. That's it. We're done here. And even if you didn't have one, I'd beat this motherfucker up and take the consequences later, man. I'm not doing that shit by the book. Fuck that. I'm getting this motherfucker while I can. He just has that evil ass look about him. Like, I'm not trusting anything he's saying. He's guilty. He's guilty on accident, but he's actually guilty. Okay. So this may be my least favorite scene in the film, and that's saying something because we've seen a man shit into a woman's mouth along with other stuff. But the oozing pus out of these staple sores is fucking disgusting, especially while stapled to someone's ass. Just a really fucking gnarly scene, man. I just don't know if we needed to see that. Ugh, terrible. And like I said, I would be skeptical of this man immediately. Just would not trust him. Wouldn't need a search warrant. I'm beating his fucking ass. And again, he threatened the investigator essentially. So yeah, I would definitely take him down. Tries to drug him. Didn't work. I will say not a ton happens in this set of scenes to me outside of the, investigators coming in. Just a lot of talking and a lot of crying and a lot of asses to mouse. So I will say right here, it doesn't drag. It just is kind of the same thing over and over again, because how can you have much dialogue when 2 of the main people in the movie, their ass is fucking sewn to someone's mouth? So, like, not a whole lot of dialogue that can really take place. It's just a lot of, I feel like I sounded like, what's his name, Dustin? Who's the Ugandan giant? That was fucked up. Who's the Ugandan giant?
Oh, Kamala?
Yeah, I sounded like Kamala's penis.
That's a joke that 3 people will get, but I appreciate it.
Hardly anyone. Thank you. But yeah, look, about time these guys made themselves useful. I would not, like I said, last day, would not follow the laws. I'm beating this motherfucker up. I'm taking him in, and then I'm investigating the house. I don't have time for search warrants. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But that's all I had, because, again, a lot of ass to mouth and a lot of crying was really what this.
Buddy really has some audacity. Gonna drug the police? That's fucking bold. This house is badass, though, but I think I'm most impressed with the soundproofing. Oh boy, was screaming his lungs out in the basement, and you couldn't hear anything. And then, yeah, totally rational behavior when someone has nothing to hide. Start yelling at the cops and insisting that they drink their water. Arrest his ass now. Like in America, he'd probably have 6 shots in him by now. Like, the cops here shoot first and ask questions later. Maybe Germany needs to take some notes in that regard. And then, what's in the cellar? Now you're going too far. What could it be? I don't know. Maybe the American girl we were asking about, you dipshit. Like that. Everything about this is suspicious. And then he drops the syringe. Apprehend this lunatic. You don't need a search warrant now, dumbass. You have probable cause. Like, what are we doing? This set of scenes is just drawn out, as if this movie's not bad enough. Go ahead.
All right, the doctor runs down into the cellar and sees his human centipede is missing. Katsuro appears, stabbing him in the foot and into his leg. He collapses, and Katsuro bites into his neck. He tells him he must get out of here, and they begin to crawl away. They make the grueling climb up the spiraling stairs, and the doctor suddenly awakes and crawls after them. Lindsay guides him through the house as the doctor licks up their blood on the stairs. Katsuro bangs on the window, and Lindsay points to the lamp. He begins striking the glass, and they see Doctor crawling in the room with him. He grabs a piece of glass and crawls towards the doctor. Katsuro begins laughing and asks if he's God. Katsuro admits his failures in life and says this is his punishment. He cuts his own throat and collapses on the floor. The detectives are back and the phone is ringing. Doctor crawls out the room and shuts the door. Doctor is in the pool room laughing as the detectives break inside. They draw their guns and begin investigating. Voller begins retching from the spiked drink. Kranz finds the lab downstairs. He hears a thud upstairs and runs into the room with the human centipede to his shock. He finds Voller dead in the pool, and the doctor shoots him twice. He falls down, shooting the doctor in the head. Good shot. Kranz falls into the pool from his wounds. Lindsay cries as Jenny's hand goes limp in her hand, realizing her friend has died. The camera pans up the window and shows the sky as we hear her crying as the film ends. Mike, what'd you think about that ending?
So my man Katsuro here finally does, I hope I said that right, God bless me, does something finally smart. You know, I know they're all in shock and horrified, but like I would have at least been trying to communicate some plan. I think we finally get something smart here. Now, why he ended up biting him again, I don't really know. But I think, taking his ass out was really, really smart. I will say, and I know this is terrible, watching them walk together in unison was fucking funny, man. I can't help it. It was fucking hilarious. Especially, and I think this was, I'm sorry. I know that this was unintentional, I think, but the way the camera pans to Katsuro's face and then up the stairs, like, oh, fuck. It felt like a really bad comedy movie. It made me laugh. I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. And as they're walking up, see, this is where the movie gets a little gross. I will concede this to Dustin, because as they're walking up the stairs, the sewn lips and skin is ripping, and it's bleeding on the stairs, and it's just fucking gross, man. Why did the doctor lick the blood? Not really sure what that's about. That's unexplained. Just random guy licking blood. All right. But I find this scene very intense. I think the face acting from all three and the Centipede here is really good, because they feel like they may actually get out of this thing. And the actor that plays Katsuro here, I think, is fantastic. I think and I have no idea, I'm not going to lie, no idea what he was saying, but it seemed like he was very invested, very emotional, and delivered it well. So I'm going to assume it was really good, whatever he was saying. And then he decides to off himself, which was a shock to me. I need to go look up the translation dialogue there, because I'd be curious to know what he said that enabled himself to do that. And then you get the investigator. Could you imagine walking in on that? That's not something you see every day. Like, you see a dead body, you might see a crazy crime scene, but not humans sewn to each other. And now one's dead. Like, just a really tough day at the office there. I will say my man had a good shot, because he had been shot a couple times and shot him right in the head. Deputy Dewey could take some fucking notes. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, come on.
Oh, I'm just saying, this man was a marksman. Dewey needs some fucking notes. Anyway, poor Jenny and Lindsay. I wish I could have saved them. I feel like all they had to do was call me, and I would have came to their rescue. We would have all been just fine. Could have rode off into the sunset together. But no, sadly, one of them dies. And look, I will say this.
Hold up, fam.
What?
Listen, I get it. They were attractive.
I know.
But if you were to save them from this, could you ever kiss a girl who's been force-fed another man's shit? She's gone. She's beyond for the streets. She's gone.
But listen, what I am saying is, like Nico mentioned at the top, this movie does not have a happy ending, and that it was bleak as fuck, man. And not only that, we talked already about how fucking terrible it would be to be the one in the middle. That one survives. Like, that's literally the fucking worst thing ever. Holy shit, man. Look, I'm going to be in the middle. Just fucking kill me, man. But nope, she lives. Just a really dark, bleak ending, which sometimes I like when a movie does that. I don't always need to walk away with roses and butterflies. Like, make me feel something, and this ending certainly did.
You got to watch the subtitles, brother. It shows what the Japanese guy's saying.
Yeah, man.
Basically, like he left his family and
Oh,
shit like that. I can't remember everything he said just because of what was going on, but he's basically a shitty person.
Sorry, the copy
We've
I
said the
watched
word
was
shit too many times on this episode.
Yeah, we have.
I mean, if you're listening, if you're listening to the Human Centipede and get upset about us saying shit, then you just need to reevaluate yourself.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. It's just we're literally talking about his shit going down another girl's gullet, and we're over here using shit as a word enhancer too. So
I don't really know why, but for whatever reason, the copy I watched didn't have subtitles. I'm not really sure why that was.
Well, you know what pissed me off about the company that did have subtitles? I had to turn the subtitles off though because
it would have subtitles over the subtitles and you couldn't see the goddamn shit.
You couldn't see what the Japanese guy was saying because the American subtitles from what the person was saying in English was covering it up. Get your shit together, Prime. All right.
Yeah, Prime, get your shit together. I know we all watched it there.
Will you shit again?
Just like, hey, 2 weeks ago we used poo like 74 times. What's the difference?
That's true.
That was just in the first scene by scene too.
Yeah. All right, let me get this shit off. Damn it, I said it again. Buddy looked stressed as hell when they weren't in the room, but seriously, how far could they have made it? Like they're a crawling Congo line and they can't stand up. Look around. He has no awareness. They shouldn't have been able to take him down. I had a big issue with that. There's no way that he should have got stabbed in the foot there. And then I'm not sure why the doctor crawled around like that. He got stabbed in one foot. Hop on your good foot, you dumb dick. Like, what the fuck are you doing here? Brutal as fuck when the conductor of the train slits his own throat. At least those were good effects, visual effects. That looked like a good throat slit, so I'll give them that. And then the doctor shuts the door when he leaves, like he's not covered in blood and crawling. And the cops have a warrant too. So like if he gets away from that door and the cops were inside, he's covered in blood. Like shutting the door is not going to do anything at this point. And then the cops, what are you doing knocking for that much? Like you have a warrant, one knock and go. Don't wait so long. Then the one cop looks at the damaged bedroom door that clearly looks like someone was trying to pound it in. I don't know. Maybe what you're looking for is inside there. Just check. Dumbass didn't even look. And then how the fuck did the doctor get the gun when he couldn't even stand up? Fuck off. Like, how did he shoot the cop with his own gun? He was in the corner crouched down in the corner.
Sorry to interrupt. I think they showed that other cop like starting to retch. I think he might have passed out from the drugs in the water. That's the only thing I can justify it with. Because Mary did start up and shit. I said shit again.
That may have that may have been, but we did hear a gunshot. So I was assuming, okay. So maybe he's retching and throwing up and he drops the gun, the doctor gets it. But still, the doctor's crouched way far away in that corner. And then when the other cop walks in, he's still in that corner. So how did he get the gun and get back? I don't know. There's issues there of some sort. Just don't know what they are. And then, as if being in the middle of the Human Centipede wouldn't suck ass enough, no pun intended, imagine being in the middle and being the only one still alive. Fuck. Like that's bleak.
Dude, you got to get a piece of glass and cut yourself free.
Yeah, or, I mean, your hands are free.
Probably gonna take
Put your hands on the cheeks in front of you and just shove as hard as you can. Just rip those stitches. You got to get out of there somehow.
You know, like Dustin said, shit's already past my lips. I'm offing myself. There's no coming back.
Well, I'm dead ass serious. When she was in the pool earlier, she should have drowned herself. I would 100%. Because even if you escape, you're probably going to escape having had your mouth sewn to someone's asshole. I'm drowning myself.
Not for nothing.
Had your teeth pulled, knee ligaments cut.
I was going to say, you can cut this if you want, but you've been disfigured as fuck. It ain't worth it.
Yeah. No, it's not. So, I mean, we see what it did to old girl in Terrifier 2. She was a fucking nightmare. So, anyway, terrible ending to a terrible movie. Go ahead.
All right, guys, let's jump into our social media comments and questions. We'll knock out the old Instagrams first. Jesse Kraft commented, "Oh no, not this one. This one stuck with me for days and not in a good way." I understand, Jesse. This one's intense. Missy Hutchinson Wall, she just commented, "Oh my!" Like, yeah. Hope you tuned in for this one. And Optional 13th Ghost commented, great username, by the way, still. Every time I think about this movie, I can't help but think about the far superior Human Centipede episode of South Park with the laughing emoji.
Yeah. Damn right.
I'll jump over to the old Twitters. That guy commented, I can't wait to hear Nico doing the scene by scene trying to describe to a listening audience how Winter Williams and Ashlyn Yenny were forced to churn dookie butter in sequence. Love the show, fellas.
Yeah.
All right, Go Dogs. Randy Smith commented, this one of those movies that just make you say, what the fuck? And damn, what it sucked to be in the very back. Can't wait to hear the take on this. One P.S. Go fucking dogs. And I hope y'all win for y'all. Hell yeah, brother. Then Andrew Ferguson commented, they should have read the Apple terms of service with the South Park gif.
Yeah.
And Adam back in Florida commented, don't be the bee. Yeah, definitely don't be the bee in this one. All right, we'll jump over to Facebook now. Kylie Denise commented, ew, with the vomit emojis. I think I made it to 20 minutes. I understand why you'd give up on this one. I really do. I can't get mad at you about that.
No.
I wish I would have.
Raymond Rodriguez commented, I've only seen this movie once, and like The Usual Suspects, it's not something I'm driven to see again. I remember feeling down like when I watch a Darren Aronofsky film. I really have to be in a mood to rewatch. I do find the first one to be unsettling, and I think it's okay as a movie. If I had a question, it would be more about part 2. Does anyone else laugh at the at the end of that film when everything is in black and white with the subtle introduction of color?
No,
but,
I don't.
Yeah, fuck that movie. But then you are reviewing part 1. Can't wait to hear your thoughts. Man, fuck part 2.
Yeah, I was going to say, sorry,
sucks.
fuck part 2, though.
And I saved the funniest comment to me for last. From Dex Cole. I think this is a great horror movie, especially compared to the sequels. It's pretty tame. I would enjoy this over Terrifier 2 any day. At least I know what's going on in this weird movie. P.S. Thanks for letting me play along and be Dustin's burner account for this long. It's a pleasure. That's it for social media.
That's awesome.
Hey, I love when fans and listeners of the show comment. I think it's hilarious. I mean, how long has Dex Cole been Dustin's burner account? It's been like months at this point now.
Yeah, it has. Well, now the jig is up because Dustin fucking hates this movie. He already said he'd watch Terrifier 2 over it. So jig it up.
I said that on my burner I just said that on my burner to throw you guys off my scent.
Fair.
No, we're on to you, pal. All right,
please don't say send.
Dustin, you got any fun facts?
Yeah, I got a few. Nothing about them are fun though. Director Tom Six showed a drawing of the Human Centipede to all the actresses who showed up to the casting sessions. Many actresses walked out in disgust after discovering what the role actually entailed. Rightfully so. When approaching investors prior to filming, the filmmakers told them they wanted to make an international horror film that involved stitching people together, but did not mention how exactly they would be stitched, fearing the mouth to anus aspect would put off the investors. Yeah. When the Toronto Underground Cinemas showed this film, there was a, quote, Centipede deal where if 2 tickets were purchased, the third one would be free. That's actually genius.
That's great.
That's genius.
It's like a Miami home football game. Anyway.
Well, that's buy 1, get 2 free. So, yeah.
Oh,
close.
shit.
The paintings of the conjoined twins displayed throughout Hyder's villa were painted by director Tom Six himself, which he felt contributed to the atmosphere in the house. The concept of the film arose from a joke director Tom Six made with friends about punishing a child molester by stitching his, quote, mouth to the ass of a very fat truck driver. All right. Akihiro Kitamura, I believe I said that right, auditioned via Skype. And then the last one, we shit on, I'm not saying we, but Roger Ebert gets a lot of flack from horror fans because he doesn't take kindly to a lot of horror movies. God, he's right on with this one. Roger Ebert refused to assign this film a star rating for his review, not to be confused with giving a 0-star rating, which he hands out to the very worst films that he sees. He said that it does not really matter whether the film is perceived as good or bad. He closed the review by writing, the film is what it is and occupies a world where stars don't shine. Okay. AKA hell.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
I'm going to read 2 of them before you go, Mike. It's from all from IMDb as well. The actors playing the Centipede were given massages at the end of every day's filming due to being on their hands and knees all day long. I feel like that's the least you could do for what they had to do. And the last thing I got, it kind of confirms that Dieter Laser's a sick fuck. He came up with the ideas to both smell the pus and lick the blood on the stairs.
Oh, gross.
Yeah.
That's super awesome. Just really quick here. This movie was made for 1.5 million euro. You're welcome. Because that's what it was made for. But it grossed $252,207. So not shit. And somehow they made 2 more of these things, which I don't understand. But anyway,
Yeah.
this one's okay.
That's crazy. 1.1 million euro. I just looked it up. That's 1.2 million dollars. So
No,
they lost
1.5 million euro.
Oh, 1.5. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see what. So that's
Yeah,
even
And what's the
more.
conversion? Where did all the budget go?
1.5 million euros is 1.636 or $1,636,000.
I'm glad you did that because I could not find a U.S. dollar amount for that budget. Found the box office, but I could not find the budget.
Yeah. All right.
All right, let's jump into our favorite kill, least favorite kill in the rating. Dustin, you want to kick us off with Brian's?
Yeah. Let me kick us off with Brian's here. Bear with me. I got to pull it up. And there it is. Human Centipede. I've never seen this movie, mostly because of the reputation that, from what I hear, is more deservingly given to the sequels. With that said, this wasn't what I expected, ... But I didn't unexpectedly like it or anything, ... It just wasn't the disgusting gore porn I've been expecting. But it still fucking sucks. I will say Dieter Laser was really good in it, but the rest of the acting was very poor in my opinion. Nothing about the cinematography or soundtrack was anything good at all. I'm giving this a 2, and this month continues to go as expected. Fucking terrible. Can't wait for next week. Strong words from a strong man.
Right.
Oh, pause. Go ahead.
Whoa. Hey,
my bad.
Strong woman. Anyway.
I'll go next real quick. Favorite kill. Golly, what is my favorite kill in this movie? I have no idea. I'll go with the doctor getting shot in the head, I guess. Least favorite kill, I'm gonna go with Katsuro. Just because I kind of feel like it was a cop out. Like you were like yelling, had all this energy about getting free, then you kill yourself. Be a man. At least get the women free, then kill yourself. I kind of said how I felt at the beginning. You know, it gives me some Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes. Feels really realistic, gritty, disgusting. It made me feel some type of way, which I appreciate in horror movies because a lot of them are so cookie cutter, play it by the book, same old, same old. And this one really does just make me feel unsettled at the end of it. I will agree, though, a lot of stupid, decision making that can't really justify the acting. While I agree with Mike, the fear that the ladies portrayed does feel realistic. Just the acting in like the first 20 minutes, not the best. Dieter Laser was great. He's horrifying. He's creepy. I gave the movie a 6 just because it made me feel unsettled.
Whoa. Okay. First of all, I want to clarify when I said strong words from a strong man, like that's a quote from The Waterboy when he's interviewing Captain Insano.
Mm-hmm.
But when I said it, I realized how sus it sounded. So I want to clarify why I said that. I wasn't anyway. And then also, Nico, damn, that's harsh on old boy, the conductor of the train there. Be a man. Like from his standpoint, he didn't know if he was going to be freed or not. He didn't know the cops were out there. He just thought that he was about to get in some more shit. So fuck it, I can't take it anymore. I'm killing myself. Anyway.
Yeah, but right there at that moment, you could have did it earlier.
He didn't have glass earlier.
He had a scalpel. He stabbed the damn doctor.
That's true. Well, I guess at that point, yeah, you're right. I don't know. All right, these are my words. This is not Brian. This is not for anyone else. This is me. Favorite kill, none. Least favorite kill, none. Fuck this movie. But I guess if I absolutely had to pick a favorite and least favorite, the throat slash by the Japanese guy was probably my favorite just because the effects at least look good. And least favorite, I went with the dumbass cop who lost his gun and got shot. But I guess you explained it a little bit more. Maybe the drugs was kicking in. I don't know. But anyway, rating. You ready? This is one of the most unnerving, unsettling, sadistic movies I've ever seen, and it's only outdone by the shitty acting. Who am I kidding? That's not the worst part. This movie's vile. Thank God it's only 90 minutes long and that I never have to watch it again. I'm going to read you all a text that I sent to Nico as soon as this movie ended. Quote, I ain't going to lie. I hated every single thing about this movie. I've never considered quitting the show before, but this movie makes me question it. No offense, because I know you picked it, but I'm in a fouled mood because of this movie. There's not a single movie I've ever watched that I'd pick it over. So there's that. This movie is playing on loop in hell 120%. You can't convince me otherwise. The people involved in making this movie and everyone who enjoys it clearly need Jesus. So I'm going to give this movie a negative 6.66.
You know what? I'll take that rating. I'll take
I
it.
will too. At least it was creative.
It made Dustin unsettled.
Also, I think Human Centipede 2 is playing on a loop in hell. Anyway, I didn't have a favorite and least favorite kill because, frankly, that's not the point of these movies. If I had to have a favorite kill, it would be the Doctor because he deserved to die. So, and my least favorite kill, I don't really have one. So, look, I've kind of said my piece. I said it in the intro. It's not an enjoyable film, and I can't go as far to say that I like it, but I think it's underrated and maybe perceived wrong by some people. Like, I just think it's really tame. Like I said at the start, it suffers from Saw syndrome, where it gets a really bad rep for being vile and gory. And it is foul. It's foul in its own way. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is it's tame compared to some other movies I've seen. Like, this movie's more tame than Audition to me. Just my opinion. That's how I feel. But anyway, I actually don't hate the acting. I think it's fine. Dialogue's not great. I do like the way the movie's shot. And I just think it's a little bit of an underrated horror film, in my opinion. I think there's a lot to take away from it. And I think, as disgusting as it is, I think it found its place for being not a cult classic. It's too far because it's not a good film, but it is an interesting film, I think. So all that being said, I gave this movie a 5. I gave it a 5.
All right, that gives us a composite score of a 1.585. I'm proud of what I did. And the IMDb rating is a 4.4 with 85,000 views or 85,000 votes.
I couldn't rate it any higher than a 5 because I don't enjoy it. Like, I like certain aspects of it, but, you know, when we talk about Winnie the Pooh being a 7.5, I enjoy the fuck out of that movie. Even Terrifier 2, which I know you didn't like, but I thought it's a good little horror film, or a good long horror film, I should say. But
I completely stand by what I said earlier. I would watch Terrifier 2 on repeat for a week straight before
there are parts of Terrifier 2 that are enjoyable. Like, Art the Clown is a good villain. Like, some of the kills look great. Like, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing enjoyable about it, but I do think it has a nice little niche.
Ain't no girls hot.
Yeah, well, that's fair too. Justice for Melissa Rivera. Oh, sorry.
Let's shout out our blood donors. Then Dustin can announce his pick and why he chose this theme. Thank you to all our blood donors. Christina Tower is a final girl donor. We did her film review of The Fog a few weeks ago. Check that out. Michael Evans is a new final guy donor. Rochelle McLaughlin, a repeat legendary donor. Really appreciate that. And Fraser Rice is a Dream Warrior level blood donor. Really appreciate you. Camper level reoccurring, Clayton J, Nina, Michelle Mirza, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Alex Seligson, Eric Doolittle, Sean Irwin, Kelsey Miller, my boy CJ, and Michael Evans. Our camp counselor reoccurring are Edwin Hernandez Gunn, Joe Swinford, Kylie Denise, all the way from Australia, Adrian Aiello, Karen, Brian Samick, Andrew Ferguson, Matt Strickland, and a new camp counselor blood donor, Brooke Maley. Really appreciate y'all's financial contributions in this really tough economy. It means a lot to us, and I know it's not easy to donate $5 and $10 because times are tough. Dustin, you want to announce your pick?
Yeah. I picked a movie that makes this movie, or I picked a movie that's going to look like it's going to look like Casablanca.
We'll see.
Compared to this piece of shit.
We'll see.
I went with Beau is Afraid. So I told you guys I went to see Beau is Afraid earlier this year. I had Regal Unlimited, so I was just seeing basically every movie that released there for a solid stretch of months. And I went and watched it because Nico and I enjoy, and Mike, you enjoy some too. We enjoy A24 movies. Brian's the only one that really hates them. And so I was like, I put my thinking cap on. I'm ready for this movie. I walked away like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Like, I've never felt like I was on acid without being on acid before in my life until I watched that movie. And so I was like, man, I got to pick this. How can I do it? getting Brian to agree to an A24 month is not going to work. Like, he's going to quit the show. I could do it on a freestyle month, but you know what? No, let's come up with a theme. Feel my pain. I had to go through this visual acid trip, so maybe they'll pick something of the same ilk. But no, you guys didn't. You guys picked fucking movies
You
that
should
made me want
have.
to kill
You
myself.
should have said that's what you wanted.
I did. I mean, I explained why I picked Beau is Afraid.
Congratulations. You played yourself.
Feel
Yeah, I
my
did.
pain. Pain. Pain.
Well, you're about to feel my pain, my window pane. Next time you come to my house, I'm throwing you through it for making me watch. But Beau is Afraid, not a bad movie, I don't think at all, as far as acting and cinematography and stuff. It's just so bizarre. Bizarre is a perfect word to explain it or describe it. And
Watching
that's
it
what
as
we're
soon as
doing
we're
next
done
week.
here.
Yeah, it's 3 hours long, buddy.
Yeah, I'm probably not gonna watch the whole thing. I'm gonna split it up 90-90. 90-90.
Yeah. All right.
Dude, enjoy that.
Yeah.
Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. Really appreciate all the support. You guys are awesome. I know this has been kind of a more bizarre film review this week. I mean, it's one I feel like we had to do though. Like when this movie came out, like it was a big topic. So
I was gonna pick it eventually anyway.
Yeah, it's been on my list for a long time.
Yeah.
I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. No, not a lot of people will like it, enjoy it, but it's one of those movies that we need to cover, just to talk about. Thank you to all our fans and listeners. Really appreciate it. We'll be back next week with Beau is Afraid. Just want to remind everybody,